Hello everyone, welcome to Brain Blitz Audios. Today, in this episode of Cbse multiple choice questions, we're going to be looking at some questions which can be used as a sample for the English examination for the Cbse exam that will take place in December. Now, as you've known, the Cbse exam has now been bifurcated into two exams, one in December and the other at the end of the academic year. So the December exam is multiple choice based, and therefore all of the subjects that are in grade 10 as well as grade 12 are to be asked in multiple choice questions. So today we're going to be focusing on English and how questions can be asked, especially in the writing and grammar section of English as MCQs. So let's start off. Now we will look at a writing question. So this is a question on a letter sent by a resident of Assam, and you have to write a letter to the editor of a national daily, drawing attention towards the difficulty faced by differently abled people at tourist places. And yeah, so you have to write a letter to the editor as well. So in the exam, they will usually ask you answer any 5 out of the 6 questions or answer any 4 out of the 5 questions. But like for this video, we'll be solving all 6 questions so that it'll be helpful for you when you tackle the exam. Of course, in the exam, you can only do 5. If you do 6, you're just wasting your time. Don't do it. Right, so let's read this preface aloud. Answer any 5 out of the 6 questions given with reference to the context below. You are Debashri, a resident of Siliguri in Assam. You have to write a letter to the editor of a national daily, drawing attention towards the difficulty faced by differently abled people at tourist places. So, in order to solve this question, you need to know how a formal letter has to be written. So, like in the original exams, these kinds of questions are usually, written. They're usually written type questions where you had to write an entire letter. However, since we have MCQs for the first exam in December, we will be looking at the questions which are MCQs, but they're dependent on the letter. So when you're writing a formal letter, especially a letter to the editor, so you'll first be writing the sender's address. So usually the address will be given here. So here it says Siliguri, Assam, so you'll just write Siliguri, Assam, I guess. So that's the address that you have to write. Then you'll write the date. Remember, write any past date. And after that, you have to write the receiver's address. Here in this case, it's the editor, so you have to write the editor and then the receiver's address. So you have to write first the editor, then the name of the national daily, and then you have to write its address. After that, you have to write the subject of the letter, which in this case would be difficulty faced by differently abled people at tourist places. However, you can reframe that effectively, and we'll have a question on that. Then we have a salutation. So, well, if you know that the editor is a male person, then you'll write dear sir, otherwise you'll write dear ma'am, depending on the gender. And after salutation, you have the body. And after the body, you have a subscription. And then you have a signature. So in the body, you'll probably divide it into 3 parts. You have an introduction. Well, you say that I'm writing this letter to highlight such and such issues. And then you'll write, well, the main paragraph, which, well, describes the issues that you have seen and the evidence behind it. And then finally you have a conclusion. So in the conclusion, you say that this problem is very important, and you can suggest some solutions, and you can say that I hope you print this article so that we can create awareness about this particular topic, and so and so, and then you'll conclude it. After that, you have something called a subscription. So after the concluding part of your body, you will write something such as yours truly, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, etc., etc. So you have to write a subscription that's formal. And after that, you have your signature. So signature would usually mean your name. And for example, if the question was saying you are the manager of such and such company, then you can write name and then your post. and the company. So this is the structure of a formal letter, and especially I've customized it for letter to the editor. So now that we have a basic idea of how a formal letter should look like, so let's look at the first question. Select the option with relevant aspects that Debashri should select for this letter. So we have 5 options here, and then we have 4 options. One of these is what we should choose. The newspaper's name, attached proof of the newspaper subscription, Debashri's address, formal tone, expected date of the letter's receipt. So, first option is the newspaper's name. And yes, you have to write the newspaper's name. So you're writing to the editor of a particular newspaper, so you have to write the newspaper's name and then write its address. So this option 1 is correct. Now what about option 2? Option 2 says attached proof of the newspaper subscription. Well, you don't need to do that to write a letter to the editor. So anybody can write a letter to the editor. So it doesn't have to be a subscribed member. Any person can write a letter to the editor, and the editor can post it if the editor can publish it if he or she wishes so. So option 2 would be incorrect because that does not happen when it comes to letters with the editor. Debashri's address. Well, Debashri here is the sender, so the first thing that we have to write is her address. So this option is correct. Option 4, formal tone, which is again very important because, well, we're writing a formal letter to the editor, so therefore any formal letter has to have a formal tone. You have to be respectful to the recipient because they do not know you. So you have to be respectful in your writing so that they understand clearly that what you have to do, and all the words that you use has to be in such a way that you emit a formal tone when the reader reads your letter. Now, option 5 is expected date of the letter's receipt. This is again not required. Expected dates are usually found when it comes to invitations and stuff, so therefore option 5 is incorrect. Now if you look at the options which we have to choose, you can see that 1, 3, and 4 are the only correct options, so therefore the correct option here would be D, which says 1, 3, and 4. In option C, 5 is mentioned as correct, which is not true. In option B, 2 is mentioned as correct, which is again not true. In option A, again, 5 is mentioned as correct, which again is not true. So therefore, option D is the correct option. Let's look at the second question under the letter. Select the appropriate subject for this letter. Now, remember the earlier preface. The preface was, if we look at the preface was to highlight the difficulties faced by differently abled people in a tourist location. So that is our focus. So we have to write an appropriate subject for it. So if we look at the 4 options, option A says drawing attention towards differently abled people. So here the title here is not specific to the tourist locations, so option A is incorrect. What about option B, the differently abled, neglected or misunderstood? Again, this actually looks like the heading of an article, so it's not specific to tourist places, so that means option B is incorrect. What about option C, tourist places are an inconvenience to differently abled people? Now, the problem with this particular subject is it can be misunderstood. So, if you say tourist places are an inconvenience to differently abled people, it would mean that, well, it is the tourist place by itself that's a problem to differently abled people. So therefore, option C, since the subject can be misunderstood, it is incorrect. The appropriate subject has to be D. D says inconvenience faced by the differently abled at tourist spots, and that succinctly describes our focus. It succinctly tells the editor that this is about the problems that the differently abled face when they visit a tourist spot. So therefore, option D is the correct answer to the second question. Moving on to the third question of the letter. Which option should Debashri select to elaborate on the difficulties faced by the differently abled? So if you look at the four options, you can find you can find 6 things here mentioned here. It says absence of ramps for wheelchairs, tourist guides untrained in sign language, lack of Braille script tourist pamphlets, unclean toilets, high ticket prices, and unsuitable visiting timings. If you look at options A and B, it's again the same 6 issues but jumbled in different ways. So we need to categorize these issues. So when we say absence of ramps and then untrained guides in sign language, and then lack of pamphlets, so like lack of Braille script pamphlets. So these particular issues are they are specific to the differently abled. So if you don't have ramps, then the physically disabled would not be able to visit the site. Tourist guides untrained in sign language would be unable to catch the attention of those who have hearing impairment. And lack of Braille script tourist pamphlets would be an issue for visually impaired people. So these are all specific to the differently abled. But if you look at unclean toilets, high ticket prices, unsuitable visiting timings, these issues are general. These are issues faced by the general public. The toilets may be unclean, the tickets may be highly priced, and the visiting timings may be unsuitable for people who work or who are in a particular location. So option D is incorrect because the issues listed here are general. And if you look at option B, it says unsuitable visiting timings, so therefore that particular issue is general. So option B is incorrect. And if you look at A, it is also incorrect because unclean toilets, high ticket prices, both of these are general. So therefore the correct option here is option C. It says absence of ramps for wheelchairs, tourist guides untrained in sign language, lack of Braille script tourist pamphlets. So these are the things that Debashri has to select in order to elaborate on difficulties faced by the differently abled. So these are difficulties which are faced by the differently abled, but not by the general public. So option C is the correct answer for the third question. Let's look at question 4 of the letter. Debashri shares some suggestions in her letter to address the issue. Select the option that helps her complete these suggestions appropriately. So this is her statement. In my opinion, the media can play a pivotal role in transforming people's dash. Also, dash against negligence to the needs of the differently abled at the tourist spots shall go a long way in bringing about a positive change. So, which of these options below are correct? Let's put in the options. If you put option A, it says media can play a pivotal role in transforming people's beliefs and traditions. Also, composing songs against negligence. So, the option by itself does not make sense. Composing songs against negligence wouldn't help in a long way. It might help raise awareness, but it wouldn't help in a long way in bringing about positive change. So therefore, option A is incorrect. If you look at option D, it says media plays a pivotal role in transforming people's interactions, also keeping minimum interference against negligence. So again, the second part does not make sense, and also the first part does not make sense because media does not involve transforming people's interactions. So option D is incorrect. Now what about option C? Media plays a pivotal role in transforming people's preferences. That can happen, but protesting against negligence to the needs of the differently abled, again, it's a step that would raise awareness, but it does not go a long way in bringing positive change. So option C is incorrect. The correct option here is option B. Media plays a pivotal role in transforming people's perceptions and attitudes. So the reason that happens is because media puts in information in a specific manner, and that can change people's people's perceptions and attitudes. And then when the second part, cautioning the authorities against negligence, works, because if you train the authorities, that's the tourist department or the manager at the tourist site, to think about negligence to the needs of the differently abled, then those people have the power to install ramps. They also have the power to put out Braille script pamphlets. So therefore, that brings about positive change. So therefore, option B is the correct option for the fourth question. Let's look at question 5. Select the option that correctly justifies the choice of the concluding portion of this letter. The first option says, I expect the authorities to take action on this issue. Please post my thoughts in your newspaper. The second option says, I hope my views get published in the columns of your newspaper so that this issue may garner more public support and awareness. So which of these options are correct? Now remember, we are writing a formal letter, so therefore we have to have a formal tone, and since we're writing to an editor, to an official, we have to have a respectful voice as well. So if you look at the two statements, statement 1 says, I expect the authorities to take action, please post my thoughts. Even though the person used the word please, this ends up as rude instead of, respectful. And the first statement also says, I expect the authorities. You do not expect the authorities to do something according to your wishes. That comes out as bossy and disrespectful. So therefore, option 1 is not correct. It's statement 2 that is correct. I hope my views get published in the columns of your newspaper so that this issue may garner more public support and awareness. So here, you are expressing hope to the editor that this gets published so that the issue has more public support, and it is an awareness tactic that can reach many people. So here you're hoping for it, so you're being respectful to the editor, so you're telling the editor that you want to get this published, but you're not making him angry by saying that I expect this to be published. So therefore, option 2 has to be the correct option. So if you look at the 4 options, option C, yes to option 2 because of the tone of polite expectation, is the correct option. Authoritative tone cannot be used in a formal letter, so that's incorrect. Option 1 is, again, it is not informal. Even though it's authoritative, it's not informal. So therefore, option B is incorrect. And option D, no to option 2 because of the certainty. Again, we need to have some sort of certainty, but not too much certain that this gets published. But then again, statement 2 is right, so we can't say no to option 2. So option D is also incorrect. Option C, that is statement 2, is the correct option that justifies the choice of the concluding portion. Now, let's look at the 6th question of that letter and the final question of this episode. Select the option that completes the concluding line appropriately. I hope that my letter will spread awareness about the issue, lead to action against all authorities responsible at tourist spots, improve circulation, result in positive reviews. Which of these is correct? Now, when you're writing a conclusion to this letter, you need to go back to your question. The question says, drawing attention to the issues faced by the differently abled. So here, we need to talk about awareness. If you look at option C and D, both of these are incorrect because here you're talking about profit to the newspaper. Now, the profit to the paper is something that you do not generally write about in a letter to the editor. That is the responsibility of the newspaper and not your responsibility, so therefore that is incorrect. Option B says lead to all action against authorities responsible at to spots. This again gives negative change. So here you're saying that you're expecting such and such thing to occur, and again, even lead to action against all authorities does not involve awareness. So therefore option B is incorrect. The correct option, let's see, where's my, the correct option here is option A, help spread awareness about the issue. So here our objective was to draw attention, and you say that I hope that my letter will help spread awareness. So that's how you should write the concluding line. So that concludes this episode of Cbse MCQs. We hope you found this episode insightful. To learn more about various topics, you can subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe to our channel, which is Brain Blitz Audios. We have a lot of videos uploaded about Cbse MCQs as well as other topics. You can always check them out in our channel. If you want to learn more about MCQs from Cbse, then you can click the link for the playlist that's present in the description box below. Also, if you want to get our latest updates, then please hit the notifications button and set it to all so that you can get our latest updates. So, until the next episode, take care, stay safe, bye-bye for now.